You ever have one of those days where you buy a place and by day 3 you're already surrounded by 5 Mercedes and a screaming HOA president waving legal papers like you dumped a pile of burning tires on her lawn? Yeah, that happened to me. 3 days. That's all I'd owned my new boathouse before I had a front row seat to a suburban circus I never asked for. Move that rotting garbage immediately. You have 24 hours, she said, sneering like I was a stray dog that had wandered onto her precious lake. And I just stood there holding the deed to something anchored here since 1952, wondering how in the world you even move a boathouse and why anyone thought I'd have to. She called it her lake. She was wrong. Dead wrong. And if you stick with me, you won't believe what happened next. That morning, the sun streaked gold across Serenity Lake, and there I was, paint-stained hands, breeze in my hair, standing on creaky teak wood that felt like home already. I'd left a lot behind to get here, divorce writer's block city noise, but man, did this beat all of that. My editor called me crazy for buying a rundown boathouse site unseen at an estate sale. But right then, watching ducks glide past, I'd never felt more sane. At least until the luxury convoy rolled up 5 Mercedes, one gaudy yellow Lambo doors slamming like a firing squad. And the vanity plate on the lead car, HOA boss. Should have known right then. Laura Sullivan was first out, platinum blonde, helmet hair, coral blazer that probably cost more than I'd paid for the whole place, looking at me like I was something sticky she'd stepped in. Next came her daughter Jessica, legal counsel, ice cold, carrying a briefcase like a weapon. Mother and daughter dynasty of tyranny, you know what I mean? And then came the backup, 3 big guys in matching HOA polos, badges, gleaming, recording everything from every angle. It was like a reality show, except I was the victim. I tried to stay calm. Years of dealing with impossible editors had taught me that much. "Can I help you?" I said, even though my hands were shaking not from fear, but from the sheer audacity of it all. Laura pulled out her gold-plated phone, actual gold, I kid you not, already live streaming my trespass. She called me the latest eyesore of Serenity Hills, her daughter listing off 17 violations and bylaws I'd never even heard of, and the men her henchmen just nodding along. I bought this boathouse legally, I told them, holding up my permits. "City permits mean nothing here," Laura snapped. "We are the law in this community." She thrust papers at me thick as cardboard, ordering me to move the boathouse by the next morning or they'd do it for me, crews already lined up. I could feel the circus growing behind me, neighbors in yoga gear, people filming on their phones, a man walking a poodle shaking his head. Jessica started tallying fines, $500 per day, compounding $18,000 for emergency removal, threats about lawsuits, and stories about all the folks they'd driven out before me. She'd won 47 cases against homeowners, Laura bragged. "Where are they now?" The crowd murmured. Most of them just looked scared. "This boathouse has been here since 1952, I said, pointing to a faded box in the corner, Wilson Estate, 1952 to 2024. There was even an old photo, just water trees and this boathouse. Laura didn't care, she called it trash. Ordered someone to cut my water, then went right back to her live stream, relishing every cruel comment. But you know what? One old woman caught my eye. Looked away quick, but there was sympathy there. I bent to pick up that old photograph proof. The boathouse predated everything around it, but Laura just shrieked louder. "Move it or regret it," she said, ticking off her connections to the county sheriff, health inspector, fire marshal. "One call," she said, "and my life gets complicated." Jessica shut her briefcase, threatening more fines, more lawsuits. The convoy peeled out, leaving a chill behind them and a crumpled violation notice in my hand. That's how the war started, 500 to 1 or so, I thought. Water cut off power, flickering neighbors watching from behind curtains. But in that box I found something else, deeds, old documents, a business card from Thomas Crawford, surveyor, with a handwritten note, "The only one who knows the truth." There was more here, I could feel it. Early next morning, diesel engines woke me up. The convoy was back this time with tow trucks, county inspectors, a barge ready to drag my boathouse away. Laura, in a new powder blue outfit, was directing the chaos with a megaphone, reminding me I had 18 hours left. Jessica documented everything, her smile sharp as ice. I was outnumbered, sleep-deprived, and smelling like cheap paint. But then Dorothy Harper, the old woman from before, snuck me a water bottle. "Be careful," she whispered. "George Wilson was a good man." Before I could ask more, another board member shooed her away, threatening her about a fence violation. That's how these folks worked: fear, fines, intimidation. By midday, the pressure was relentless. County inspector posted an unsafe mooring sign. Subcontractors measured my pilings, security guards logged my tools, and when I objected, they quoted statutes until my head spun. I tried calling the police. "Civil matter," they said. "Work it out with the HOA." By afternoon, a drone circled my roof, repeating, "Move out. This is your notice." Security guards patrolled the shore, documenting my every move. Jessica showed up with two young lawyers offering a buyout, $15,000 for a place I'd just paid $30,000 for. "Take it or face a legal nightmare," she said. "The HOA will bury you." The buyer, Serenity Holdings, LLC. Laura's home address. It was all a shell game. Shell. That night, surrounded by darkness and growing doubt, my phone rang. "I know what Laura's doing," said a nervous man, William Brooks. "She did it to me. Meet me at the coffee shop in an hour, bring everything." He warned me Laura had eyes everywhere. Chainsaws started up outside. They weren't waiting for the deadline. I had to act fast. At the coffee shop, William looked broken. A former HOA board member, former lawyer, former homeowner. "Laura has a way of adding former to your life," he said. He told me she'd destroyed his career, his family, his reputation, all because he'd questioned her finances. But when he saw Wilson's deed and the old photograph, his eyes lit up. "This is bigger than you know," he said. The lake, it turned out, had a unique legal status, one that meant whoever owned the boathouse owned the lake itself. We raced to the county records office, hoping to find proof before Laura could shut us down. Janet, a clerk in the archives, pulled out a ledger from 1945-55. Sure enough, Serenity Lake was privately owned, deeded in full to the primary dwelling, my boathouse. William grinned like a man who'd found gold. "If this holds, you don't just own the boathouse, you own the whole lake." But we needed the original deed proof for court. Janet warned us Laura had fired the last clerk for helping a homeowner. "Be careful," she whispered. Outside, William's phone rang. Laura. She threatened his daughter's college scholarship, reminded him of a non-interference agreement, promised to ruin him again. He handed me the copies, told me to find Thomas Crawford, the original surveyor. "He's 90 lives on the east side. If anyone has the deed, it's him." Then he walked away, broken a second time. Dorothy texted me an address. Crawford was expecting me. I spent the next hours poring over the records, trying to make sense of the legal language. Crawford's house was a time capsule, maps on every wall, coffee brewing, eyes sharp. He pulled out a portfolio, deeds, surveys, tax records, even a sealed letter from George Wilson himself, for Laura Sullivan's victim. George had kept everything, proof that Laura had known about the real ownership all along, that every dock, every boat launch, every HOA fee was illegal. Then William called. Laura was coming, this time with the police. They'd accused me of breaking and entering, seized the documents. Crawford shoved the papers in a USB drive into my hands. "The world needs to see this. Don't let her bury it again." We escaped through the back door as cops and Laura arrived at the front, her voice shrill as ever. I hid in a diner, watching the sun rise over my new life on the run, but armed with the truth. Dorothy had an idea. The HOA's meeting was at noon, 500 people, all victims. She'd get the word out. Screenshots started going viral on the community Facebook page. "Why are we paying for lake access? Who really owns the lake?" Financial records that didn't add up. By the time I walked into the meeting, people were buzzing, phones in hand. Laura's supporters trying to shout down the fake news, but the doubt was there. I walked to the front, deed in hand, and called out Laura in front of everyone. Dorothy stood up, demanded I be heard. Thomas Crawford showed up in the flesh, alive and well, exposing Laura's false police report. I held up the deed. County records backed me up. The crowd went wild. I played videos from the USB. Laura admitting in 2003 she knew the truth, emails about waiting out George Wilson, financial records showing millions siphoned off. The dam burst. A vote of no confidence swept through the room. The HOA died in minutes. And then the FBI walked in, arrests, handcuffs 500 people, recording Laura's downfall. But victory was just the start. Laura, even out on bail, launched a new attack lawsuits, smear campaigns, claims my deed was fake. Neighbors turned on me, media twisted the story, old allies abandoned ship. William Brooks, under threat, testified against me. Judge Johnson, a golf buddy of Laura's, blocked my evidence, ruled in her favor. My bank account frozen, my boathouse vandalized, water cut again. Laura strutted around playing the victim, rallying the neighborhood against the outsider. Just when I thought it was over, another knock on my door, Elizabeth Wilson George's widow, with a second properly notarized deed from 1953. She handed it to me, eyes shining with quiet strength. The next HOA meeting, chaos boiled over, but this time I had everything, both deeds, both signatures, emails, showing Laura had known and tried to destroy the evidence. FBI agents revealed Laura had tampered with county records. Daniel Peterson, her old ally, turned state's evidence. William Brooks, done being afraid, confessed everything, recording it all for the FBI. The board dissolved. Laura's last threats fell flat. She screamed, but no one listened. I demanded removal of every illegal structure on my lake, $1 million in back rent, or get them out. Jennifer Anderson, my lawyer, explained the law. Everything they'd built now belonged to me. And finally, real justice, Laura and Jessica arrested for fraud, racketeering, destruction of records, you name it. Community service, restitution, luxury cars gone, houses sold. The HOA dissolved, replaced by a lake trust, 1 vote per household, $1 a year for legal structure, real maintenance by volunteers. Serenity Lake became a place for everyone, not just the powerful few. 6 months later, I sat on my boathouse deck, coffee in hand, watching Laura pick up trash in an orange vest, her ankle monitor flashing. Dorothy and Thomas puttered by in a boat waving. William Brooks, now healthy, fighting HOA corruption for others. Richard Hammond, the old board enforcer, started a YouTube channel on HOA fraud, wanted to interview me for a retrospective. But honestly, all I wanted was to finally finish painting in peace. I never wanted to own a lake. I just wanted a home, some quiet, a little dignity. But when someone tries to steal from an entire community, you stand up, you fight. And sometimes, if you're lucky, the truth wins out, even if it takes a while. So let me ask you, what would you have done in my place? What does justice really mean when power and money bend the rules? Drop your thoughts below, share your own war stories, or just tell me where you're watching from. Because at the end of the day, it's not about the lake or the house or even the fight. It's about building something worth belonging to. And if you enjoyed this ride, hit that subscribe, share your story, and let's make sure karma keeps running the show.